and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Everybody hates Ron Klein. Yeah, who is this guy? Well, apparently he's with the Biden-Harris administration, and everyone's jumping down his throat because the Biden-Harris administration's numbers are plummeting down. This is a fact. There's no debate. Vote blue no matter who, or blue checkmark, or cul-de-sac progressives carrying water for the Democratic Party. The Biden-Harris's numbers are going down. Now, there's a lot that's been impacting Biden and Harris and their legacy and their administration. There's a lot of people bringing it down, but apparently there's a lot of heat on this Ron Klein guy. So we got a couple videos from Case Study QB, as well as a few other videos that I found through my own initiative to explain why Biden is starting to really suck and maybe people are waking up to the fact. But let's play this first video. Again, be sure to follow Case Study QB on Twitter. That's an awesome graphic. Let's play that video.
Klein's the subject of a new Washington Post profile titled, "Ron Klein Had the Perfect Resume. His first year showed the limits of that experience." The story, sure to be buzzy in Washington all day today, is written by our next guest, White House reporter for the Washington Post, Tyler Pager. Good morning, Tyler. Thanks for being here. We read your story with great interest, and let's talk about it now. So White House Chief of Staff Ron Klein has come under fire from some in the president's orbit, taking a lot of blame for Biden's approval rating hitting a record low. Give us a sense as to where Klein stands right now in the Biden orbit, and what impact would you say has he had on Biden's first year in office?
Yeah, well, Jonathan, it's great to be with you, and thanks for having me on to discuss this story out this morning, as you said, with my colleague Sean Sullivan. And we took a deep dive into Ron Klein's first year. He came into this job with a glittering resume, everything you might want in a White House chief of staff. And we looked at what some of those shortcomings were in his first year. And I think he has had a tremendous influence on Joe Biden's first year. And I would say everyone says that Joe Biden still has the utmost confidence in Ron Klein and his chief of staff. The president said last week he has no plans for a staff shakeup. But I think there's a harsher spotlight on Ron Klein in recent weeks as the administration looks to gear up for year two, which is going to be a difficult year given the midterms are approaching. And I think some of the criticisms that we focused on in this story most explicitly looked at his relationships with key Democrats, particularly on the Hill, whether that's House Speaker Nancy Pelosi or West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, both whom are critical to anything passing through the Congress.
Klein in particular has been tasked with managing a relationship with some of the more progressives, those voices on the Hill. And certainly there has been some growing frustration about the efforts there. But, you know, the spotlight on him comes, as you say, at a moment where the president is trying to pivot into his second year in office. He alluded last week that he wants to be on the road more, thinking he's missing out on the connection with voters, wants to talk less about the...
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack. So let me address this right here. Well, yes, Ron Klein's part of the Biden-Harris administration. At the end of the day, the buck stops with Biden himself. He is the executive, the commander-in-chief. And it's real easy to blame certain key members. And yes, this has happened in the past where certain members of an administration have been maybe the reason why a presidential administration's popularity is falling down. But Biden is his own worst enemy. Biden is the person that's bringing himself down. It's Biden and his history and his inaction and his inability to follow through. And just because Ron Klein has some close connections to, or maybe the outreach to progressives, hey, progressives, AOC, Bernie Sanders, and the rest of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, where are you at? Only now are you raising the ruckus. Where were you many years ago, well, not many years ago, months ago, on January 2021, when you were supposed to challenge the administration, question the administration, push back against the administration? You didn't do that. And so now all this is happening on Ron Klein. And of course, again, there's a bigger picture here. He's not that popular, Ron Klein, and he's right now being the fall guy. But voters, average citizens, are smarter than that. There's another piece here about Ron Klein, about why he's not so popular, maybe why he's sinking the Biden-Harris administration, but there's so much more to this. Let's play this.
Where do they see his agenda going moving forward? What's the latest on, say, Build Back Better or whatever form it eventually takes? And what strategies might they take to win back public approval?
Right. So Build Back Better is obviously the piece of the legislation that they were hoping to complete before the end of the year. Senator Manchin blew up those negotiations, saying he was not going to move forward on them. As we report in our story, Senator Manchin has had particularly frustrations with Ron Klain, the chief of staff, and he's made it clear to allies that Ron Klain has some repair work to do if he's going to be involved in future negotiations directly with the West Virginia senator. But in terms of the future for the next few months and Joe Biden's agenda, what the president said and Ron Klain told us in an interview is that they want to get Biden outside of Washington more, connecting with voters, talking about his agenda, and not so much focused on these congressional meetings that, has been a huge part of his first year.
Where do they see his agenda going moving forward? What's the latest on, say, Build Back?
All right, so looking at that, he's not that popular, Ron Klain. He's becoming the fall guy, as I've said before. But the Biden-Harris administration have a history of failing to follow through with their promises. Throughout this entire time, we heard from, especially from their most diehard defenders, that they're going to return the soul back to this country, that things are going to change. But remember, Biden himself said nothing will fundamentally change. We got a couple other videos here, and I want to just build it up while we get a chance to set that issue up. But there are other people in this administration, especially the press secretary, who are trying to calm people down from their disappointments. Now, I played this video last Friday as a humorous note, but let's face it, Americans are being evicted from their homes. We're still struggling with debt, medical and student, and we're still dealing with so many other issues that our government is not addressing. And that whole infrastructure bill is, again, falling flat. Eventually, right now, it's only going to benefit private corporations in the Build Back Better. Build Back Better is only going to help out the top 1%. Well, let's hear what the press secretary tells us what we should do. Maybe this adds more fuel to the fire, maybe why the Biden-Harris administration's numbers are falling down. It's just not one person, it's many people. But again, Biden is the number one reason. But let's play this video.
So my advice to everyone out there who's frustrated, sad, angry, pissed off, feel those emotions, go to a kickboxing class, have a margarita, do whatever you need to do this weekend, and then wake up on Monday morning, we got to keep fighting. And what that means, Lindsay, is we have to keep talking to members about federal legislation. That's essential. That's something that can be permanent, that can make sure people's rights are protected. But we also need to make sure people are educated in states across the country about what their rights are, how they can vote, when they can vote, how to request an absentee ballot. There's a lot we need to do on that front, and that's going to rely on the energy and the anger of that activism as well. So my advice to everyone out there who's frustrated, sad, angry.
So, sad, angry. Well, hey, guess what? I played that on Friday. It's Monday. Everyone's still upset, angry. The Biden-Harris administrations is not doing a goddamn thing for us, as we are still struggling day in, day out just to make ends meet. And the thing is, a lot of promises were made, and like a typical politician, nothing was followed through on. So the thing is, yeah, kickboxing classes. Who has money for that? Margaritas? Well, all right. If you can get them, go get them. If you can get a beer, go get it. If you get a shot, go get it. If you want to smoke some weed, go ahead and do it. Do whatever you feel like right now, folks, because let's face it, anyone in Washington, D.C., especially part of the Biden-Harris administration, they're not going to do a damn thing for you. And it sucks because our leaders have abandoned us, just like they did in 2020 and 2021. And now they have the audacity to ask for your vote in 2022. Democrat and Republican lawmakers. Build infrastructure to support their parties, build infrastructure to build grassroots movements that are not connected to Washington, D.C., and support good ballot initiatives. Kickboxing classes, go ahead and do it, but remember, don't expect anything from Biden and Harris. As we are continuing on with this story, because I want to build, again, a further case about maybe why Biden and Harris, their numbers are falling down, it's because people are wising up to the fact that their entire system, their entire administration, everything they put, their history, is there for all of us to see. We got another video too. I think we should bring that up as well. I just want to make sure that we all understand just really how out of touch the Biden-Harris administration is. Now, this next video here, this has gone viral, where Biden is calling a reporter a stupid son of a bee. Call him a stupid son of a bitch. But I think it's important because, let's face it, inflation is an issue. And it's happening right now. Food prices are going up. And it's hurting a lot of Americans. Let's play this video.
Why are you saying 8,500 trips to Ukraine cost? What do you think President Biden inflation that? Do you think inflation is a political liability?
That's a great asset. More inflation. What a stupid son of a bitch.
So the question that was asked was, do you think inflation will be a political liability? Biden saying it's a great asset, and obviously under a hot mic. Let's be clear here. It's a great asset. Good questions. What a stupid son of a bitch. That's what he said. But it's nothing to joke about. And whoever was controlling the soundboard for Biden on that thing should be fired, because let's face it, that's unprofessional. Can you imagine if we had a hot mic or anything like that? I mean, come on. That is so stupid. Like, that is a fireable offense. I mean, FaZe just gave like a huge rock on. Like, that was like, as soon as that press event is done, shut it all down. But that's more fuel to be used against the Democrats. And by the way, again, look, I mentioned this throughout all of 2020, that there's so much propaganda that the GOP and even Bernie Sanders during the primary could have used against Biden. He is his own worst enemy. His mouth is his own worst enemy. He keeps on stuttering, stammering, and there's so many videos out there of Biden screwing up and making horrible takes. That is a perfect campaign propaganda. The Biden-Harris administration is its own worst enemy, and when people hear that, especially Americans that are struggling day in, day out, just to make ends meet, we have only one person to blame, that's Commander-in-Chief. Biden has a history of destroying social programs, being against social programs, being on the wrong side of history. Let's rewind back the clocks when good old Biden was a senator. We got a video here. Let's play it for all of you.
We have before us the balanced budget amendment, about which many of us have expressed serious reservations, the effects of which are, in both the short and the long term, cannot be predicted with any degree of certainty. We'll hear a good deal of hyperbole on this amendment, promises by those that this is going to cure all, and promises by those, if it passes, that we're going to go to hell in a handbasket and rapidly, and all our liberties will be taken from us. I hope we kind of keep our eye on the ball here and at least have an open mind to the prospect that we can make this amendment better and still have an amendment. I'm sure someone has looked out over the next 15 years and concluded if we stay on the track, even the one predicted by the President of the United States, that we will be providing for an increasingly larger share of every tax dollar just to go to reduce interest on the debt. And to me, that's the driving force behind this amendment. When I introduced the budget freeze years ago, the liberals of my party said, it's an awful thing you're doing, Joe. You are all the programs we care about, you're freezing them. Money for the blind, the disabled, education, and so on. And my argument then is the one I make now, which is the strongest, most compelling reason to be for this amendment or an amendment. And that is that if we don't do that, all the things I care most about are going to be gone. I mean, whatever happened to that old conservative discipline about paying for what you spend? I'm up for re-election this year, and I'm going to remind everybody what I did at home, which is going to cost me politically. When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government. And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time. Somebody has to tell me in here how we're going to do this hard work without dealing with any of those sacred cows.
Wow. That, my friends, is Senator Bernie Sanders' good friend. Remember, Bernie Sanders, you said that's your good friend, your pal, your buddy, your friend. Your good friend, that's your friend. Bernie, Joe Biden, being against all those social programs. And again, now as president of these United States, Biden has made sure that nothing has fundamentally changed and that, let's face it, he's not helping us out. His own party is working against him because he's given it its silent, obedient consent. He's given Manchin and Sinema the thumbs up to undermine him because that's what he wants. He's not going to challenge the Senate parliamentarian. It's a non-elected official. Now, he does have the power to overrule said parliamentarian, but he's not going to do it. He's only working for his corporate donors. This is the same guy who said he'd proudly prostitute himself to corporations, to those who have money. The reason why Biden is failing, the reason why Kamala Harris is failing, isn't because of certain individuals in their staff. Now, of course, they might play some role here and there, but it starts and ends with both Biden and Harris. And as we go and continue on in this 2020 midterm election cycle, we're going to see firsthand just how much of a failure both of them really are. And 2024 will be very interesting as well, because Trump's going to run again. Good luck, Biden and Harris, and good luck, Vote Blue, no matter who. You have nothing to run on, and your failures are your own damn fault. And you did a very good job in using scare tactics to get people to turn out to vote for you. And for those of you who voted for Biden out of fear of the orange boogeyman and so much more, let's use that energy and focus on building movements outside of Washington, D.C., and don't fall in line with any of the two parties. We got to think for ourselves and break away from neoliberalism.